This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. This is the Fast Break Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Anderson, and alongside me, as always, is Dave Oster.
Hey, everybody.
And today, Ricky Widmer is not joining us, and I don't know why, Dave. Ricky loves to talk to text. He loves not to actually texting. I don't think he's ever sent a real text in his life. And that's why I think 95% of his actual texts or actual responses, whether it be on Twitter or through the text messaging app, is just GIFs, because he can express himself very clearly in those GIFs.
Yeah. I'll be honest, it's a fun addiction, but also it's like a guilty pleasure.
Yeah. What Ricky said to us was, so I'm not going to be able to podcast tomorrow. Been waiting for confirmation from my mom, and my Aunt Judy says she's free because the family was going to go up to Michigan to visit for their county fair. So somebody's free. They're going to Michigan, maybe. I don't know what's happening. But Ricky,
family obligations.
Ricky might be in Michigan. So shout out to Judy. Yep. And this is the Fast Break Podcast. But it should be a good time. We are doing our rankings 1 through 30 for starting small forwards in the NBA going into the 2019-2020 season. But before we get into that, check out patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast. If you like what we're doing here, if you want to support Aunt Judy, go to patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast and check out the bronze, silver, and gold tiers. On that gold tiers, you can call in to the podcast and give your thoughts about the NBA or the college football league. Give it about college football. You can talk about.
We're clearly professionals. We know what we're doing.
You can talk about games with Dave and Ricky on Too Old the Game. You can do nerd stuff with Rick and Johnny and the Rick and Johnny podcast. And we still have a new podcast coming out as well. And I think some of our local fans might be excited for that.
I think they will be.
A little bit of a tease. You know, Dave, a little bit of a tease.
Okay.
I'm just going to tease a little bit.
Just put it out there.
It'll take a little bit. Just tease a little bit, you know? Anyways, after that weird intro, let's get into it. We're going to start off 21 through 30 if you're new to this. Then we're getting to 11 through 20. And then we'll get 1 through 10. And let's start off, Dave. I'll give Ricky's rankings.
Yeah.
And then you're going to give your rankings.
Yep.
And then I'm going to give my rankings.
I understood this time.
And then you're going to give the cumulative rankings. So what we do is we assign points to each number. So if you are ranked number 30, you get 1 point. And then we add up all of your rankings and spots, and then we put it into a giant list. So we just give our official rankings or our personal rankings just so you know why each guy ended up where they are. And let's start off with Ricky. At 30, he had Troy Brown of the Washington Wizards. At 29, he has Bruce Brown of the Detroit Pistons. At 28, he has Terrence Ferguson of the Oklahoma City Thunder. At 27, he has Alfonso McKinney of the Golden State Warriors. At 26, he has Kevin Knox of the New York Knicks. At 25, he has Tim Hardaway Jr. of the Dallas Mavericks. At 24, Magic fans are going to be excited. Jonathan Isaac, very low, I think, in their eyes. But I mean, he is young. He didn't show too much last year. Then we'll go to, they just love him. On Twitter, I know you're not on Twitter. You're not. Yep. You're like an old man.
I am.
They love him on Twitter. Like, I think they die for Jonathan Isaac.
What's not to love? He's a long boy.
Anyways, we'll talk about that long boy soon. 23, Kent Bazemore of now the Portland Trailblazers, right? I forgot
he
where
is a Trailblazer.
Went. He's gone.
That was the
everywhere.
Alan Crabb deal.
It was. And that and Alan Crabb, who we'll talk about, I think. No, we're not going to talk about.
Or no, was that the Evans deal?
Evans.
Why am I blanking on names? I feel like this was an obvious
Evan
one.
Turner?
Evan Turner.
Evan Turner didn't get dealt, did he?
Yeah.
He did?
Didn't he?
I don't think he did.
This is a shit show.
Yeah, it is a shit show, but I think Alan Crabb got moved, and that was the deal that sealed KD and Kyrie. So Alan Crabb died for this. Kent Bazemore is on the Portland Trailblazers, and it was an exchange for Evan Turner. So you're absolutely right.
Cool.
I didn't know Evan Turner was a Hawk, and we do an NBA podcast. So much happened this offseason that why the fuck would we remember that deal? Why would we remember Evan Turner being traded for Kent Bazemore of all players?
I was going to say Alan Crabb was way back. Remember, he was on the Nets, you know?
Yeah, but he got traded to the Hawks. And he got traded because his like $17 million was going to not be enough for
Prince
them.
Deal.
Yeah, the Torian Prince deal. That wasn't going to be enough for them to sign
Get
KD
your
and
deal
Kyrie.
straight.
So literally hang Alan Crabb's jersey in the rafters up in the Barclays Center because that got you KD and Kyrie.
Yeah.
Anyways, Kent Bazemore of the Portland Trailblazers at 23.
We got there.
At 22, Jetty Osman. Did I say that right? Jetty Osman of the Cavaliers. 21, Kyle Slow-Mo Anderson of your Memphis Grizzlies. Dave, give us your rankings.
All right. At number 30, I had Alfonso McKinney. At 29, Troy Brown Jr. At 28, Bruce Brown. Got to keep the Browns together right there. Just keep them 29-28. At 27, Kent Bazemore. 26, Jarrett Culver. 25, OG Anunoby. 24, Terrence Ferguson. 23, DeAndre Hunter. 22, Tim Hardaway Jr., and 21, Kyle Anderson.
I like how you were surprised by DeAndre Hunter. DeAndre Hunter?
Yeah.
He's here.
He's here.
We love DeAndre Hunter.
We got some new names in there.
21 through 30 for me. I can't wait to go over the old names. There's some great old names from last year's list because this position sucks.
Yep.
21 through 30 for me. At 30, I have Troy Brown of the Washington Wizards. At 29, I have Alfonso McKinney of the Golden State Warriors. At 28, we have Kent Bazemore of, apparently, the Portland Trailblazers.
Apparently.
We have Kevin Knox of the New York Knicks. At 26, we have Bruce Brown of the Detroit Pistons. At 25, we have Terrence Ferguson of the Oklahoma City Thunder. At 24, we have OG Anunoby of the Toronto Raptors. At 23, we have Jarrett Culver of the Minnesota Timberwolves. 22, we have Miles Bridges of the Charlotte Hornets. And at 21, we have Tim Hardaway Jr.
That gives us our cumulative rankings
of the Dallas Mavericks. I didn't finish that.
I'm okay with you not finishing that.
Give us the real rankings.
I didn't want Tim Hardaway Jr. on the team anyway. At number 30, we had Troy Brown Jr. At 29, it was Alfonso McKinney. 28, Bruce Brown. 27, Kent Bazemore. 26, Terrence Ferguson. 25, Kevin Knox. Interesting one. 24, Jarrett Culver. 23, Tim Hardaway Jr. 22, OG Anunoby. And at 21, Kyle Anderson.
My favorite part about these whole rankings is we have so many new names to this list.
We really do. Lots of shakeup in this position.
Yet, Kyle Anderson is still 21.
Are you serious? Year over year.
Kyle Anderson last year was 21. 22 was Taurean Prince. He moved up. 23 was Justice Winslow, who's now a point guard. 24 is Josh Jackson, who we debated whether he should be starting for the Memphis Grizzlies. We ended up going with Slow-Mo just because he has basketball IQ. Where Josh Jackson is very raw.
Very raw, very athletic, though. Mm-hmm. But, maybe not the best guy off the card either.
At 25, we have DeMar Carroll, who was actually better, but then went from being a starter to being a bench player. But he's a pretty good bench player now.
Yeah, he's solid.
Then we have 26, Miles Bridges. He's moved up. We'll be talking about him in the next segment. We have Jonathan Isaac at 27 from last year. He's also moved up. Mo Harkless, he was at 28. He's now a bench player for the Clippers. And then we have 29, Stanley Johnson, who's now on the Bucks, right? Or he signed with some weird-ass team. He is on it. I forget where he signed. He signed for $2.4 million.
I believe it's the Raptors.
Yes, it is the Raptors. So Stan John's now
Confirmed.
a Raptor, but he's definitely on the bench. And then last year, our boy Osman, Jetty. He was 30, and now he's in 21. He's in the 11 through 20 part. So
he thrived without LeBron James.
Shout out for Jetty Osman. Let's start off where I think is probably the most interesting, and that's probably the young guys, mainly being Jarrett Culver and Kevin Knox. And you could also say Terrence Ferguson because he's pretty much the same age as them. He came out of high school pretty much. Terrence Ferguson is younger than me.
Australia deal.
Yeah, he came out of high school, went to Australia, and then got into the NBA draft. But he was born in 1998. The dude's younger than me, and he was younger than DeAndre Hunter, and we figured that out because DeAndre Hunter was born in May 17th, 1997, and then T-Ferg was May 17th, 1997, and DeAndre Hunter's December 2nd, 1997. T-Ferg's 98, and then Hunter's December 2nd,
Sean reading out
1997,
numbers out loud.
And T-Ferg's May 17th, 1998. So
he's
T-Ferg's extremely
5
young.
months younger. Something like that.
Extremely young. So let's talk about these young guys. Culver, Knox, Ferguson. Who do you think has the most room to move up in this list?
Culver, Knox, Ferguson. I'd like to believe that it's going to be Kevin Knox because he was so raw coming out of college. And last year he struggled quite a bit in New York. But I think that was a lot of that I want to point to the lack of an offensive scheme or a consistent offensive scheme. They had a lot of guys going in and out of that rotation. It was very ISO heavy. So I'd like to see him in a set where, there's better facilitators out there and there's some better role players as well, and that ball gets to move around. I think Terrence Ferguson being a 3-and-D wing is basically the dude's long, he is athletic, he shot a bunch of threes last year at a decent clip, 36%. So I think that him continuing to grow in that mold is probably the best direction for him. Culver is the interesting one because it's I don't know how he's going to do on this team. Yeah. He has his own talent. I know that, and we ranked him highly coming out of college. But his fit on his team leads to a lot of questions as far as how much room he'll have to prosper during his rookie year, at least, because you have a semi-selfish point guard in Teague. You have Wiggins, who is very ball-heavy. Then you have Cat, who needs the ball because he's one of the best offensive big men in the NBA. So you've got those guys around him. And Rocco, who is just, if you can get that man an open three, it's as good as in. So I don't know. His opportunity-wise might limit him, and that's why I kind of had him lower on my ratings this year.
And the interesting thing, too, is I don't really know how Ryan Saunders is going to maintain the rotations, how he's going to work everybody in, but they also have Josh Okogie, who can definitely take minutes away from him. He was a first-round pick, highly athletic player, shot, I think, decently from three, but super athletic, and a very interesting player.
Very strong defender, too.
Yeah, so he might take some time away from Culver. The biggest thing that I think for Culver, the reason why we put him in, because obviously he's a strong defender as well, but he is probably their secondary ball handler, and that was the thing that we projected him as, was more of a two-guard, but Wiggins is more of a two-guard than Culver is. Culver's more of that 2 and 3, definitely a wing, but he can be a ball handler, and he can be an initiator. How much of a role do you think he will have in that Timberwolves offense, being a ball handler, being an initiator for this team?
I hope they lean on him a little bit to start the season and see what he can do, because this is a team where if everything clicks right and like Andrew Wiggins takes himself seriously, Cat plays defense this year, this is a team that can fight for an 8th spot in that Western Conference, which is stacked. So if you can lean on him early and figure out like how much can this guy carry the load. Look, he was a very good college player. And we saw what happened at the upper tier of that NCAA tournament, where it's just like, all right, you can't carry a team on your back. But how much can you do when you have amazing pieces next to you, guys who are going to do it with the majority of the scoring, so you don't have to force up bad looks all the time, and you can kind of just be there, be one of the guys to move the ball around the offense, swingman style. I think he can do pretty well. I honestly do. It's just like you said, Saunders has a lot of decisions to make about how to use that lineup and how to keep the ball moving in the right people's hands.
Yeah, the biggest thing that I think Culver needs to do when he is an initiator and is a ball handler is just use Cat as much as possible. And that's the biggest thing for him, is just going to make sure that when he is in pick and roll situations with Cat, he needs to always be driving and attacking.
Yeah.
He's not good from the outside unless it's a spot-up three. He's a very good catch and shooter, but he cannot create for himself beyond the perimeter. He's not going to be able to shake off a defender a la Luka style, who we got so much shit for putting him at 3, but I don't care. Luka's amazing. Culver is not that type of player. Culver is not a shot creator. He's very long and he's very quick, so he can get to the bucket and throw up a shot and then draw a foul and go to the line. He's very good in that way of using his body and using his length to his advantage and driving to the bucket. And he's also a very good passer, or at least an above average passer for a rookie at this age. So I'm interested to see how he can work into this lineup as a secondary ball handler and what his usage will be for this team. You look at his usage when he was in Texas Tech, it was around 32. It's definitely going to go down. But if he's around 25%, I think that could be something that could... 25 just because he's going to get shots. I think he's going to be a fairly decent ball handler, or he's going to get a fairly decent amount of looks as a ball handler. Yeah, it'll be around 25%. Is that too high, you think?
I think probably 20 to 25 range is. Okay. Yeah, I think 25 would be high, but I think it's doable still.
Yeah, Kevin Knox last year had like 22. I think he'll probably get more looks than that because Kevin Knox wasn't a ball handler. Just comparing those two guys because they're young, and I had Kevin Knox's page pulled up. But let's talk about Kevin Knox. You said that he might actually take a step further in this offense. You had him ranked the highest at 20. But it's still the same coach. And largely it's not the same players.
You rolled over the roster.
Yeah, you're going to get more looks taken away because of Julius Randle being on the team. I don't see this step being taken. Like, what are you seeing in his offseason? What are you seeing in Fizdale's offense that might allow him to take that step forward? Where is this way for Kevin Knox to grow? Apparent to you?
I'm looking at it as their offensive system has to change because they have that Julius Randle in there as their centerpiece for scoring on that team. Like, their 4-5 combo of Randle and Mitchell Robinson is massive, and they're going to live in the low post, which I think can give Kevin Knox more of a mid-range outside game, because last year he would default a lot to putting the ball on the court and driving in. And this year I think he's going to have to take the outside shots, which honestly his shot at times looked really good, but he definitely lost confidence in it during a good portion of the year. So my hope is that because Julius Randle will draw the primary forward guard at that point, I really think that Kevin Knox will get better looks. I'm just hoping that they learn how to move the ball. Like RJ Barrett out there, I know people want to give him shit for not being an amazing basketball IQ from his own shot selection, but he can move the ball around as a 2-guard, and I think that'll help Kevin Knox because the alternative was Lonzo Trier, who really wasn't looking to pass the ball ever. It was like shoot, look around, still gonna take that shot even though I'm triple covered. So like,
did you say shoot on that one?
Yeah,
for Lonzo Trier?
maybe one more shoot,
okay.
And then maybe I'll think about passing, maybe timeout, and then shoot again.
Yeah, I mean the interesting thing is, I don't know what his great part of his game is. You look last year on catches shoots, he was decent from 3, 34% from the outside. That was about 4.1 a game. You could say that he was very good at pull-ups at 41.3%, but it was on a very low rate,
right?
At like half every other game.
Yeah.
So I mean, like he was getting probably like 1 every 2 games.
Yep.
If I'm doing my math correctly. But the part that was bad was him just driving.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, he wasn't good at pull-ups. From any part of the floor outside of the ones that he took from 3. A lot of the shots that he was taking were, catch and shoots from the field, or pull-ups from the field from 2-point range. And he was shooting like 32% on that. He was good around the rim, or at least somewhat good around the rim, less than 10 feet, shooting around 43.3%. But for a guy that's that big, he needs to be better. He needs to be better at closing out. And that's one thing that he was pretty good at college at, was driving and attacking the bucket and creating for himself on the baseline. I didn't see a lot of that last year, and that's something that does concern me. I wonder if he does have that motor of, if he does get hit in the mouth, if he does get pushback on defense, does he have that next level to be like, all right, fuck you, and then take it right back? Because we obviously saw the big Zion thing during Summer League where he got the ball literally ripped out of his hand and then slammed on.
That was demoralizing.
I wonder what his response is. I don't know if Kevin Knox has that next level to him to be the guy that can, be physical and use his body to create room, create space for himself, and attack the bucket. I don't know if he has that in him yet, and I saw a decent amount of pull-ups from him last year where I don't think that's mainly his game. I think he's more of a driver and attacker.
He's still definitely growing into that body, though. That was a big thing coming out of college. It was like, oh, he's just like a blank slate. He's long, he's athletic. Like, what can we do with him? He was an okay shooter. His form's not broken. It was just, he's a good prospect because of his body makeup, and he had all the right tools. It's just a matter of, can he put that all together and, like you said, hit that next level. And I think he'll have the playing time and the opportunities because this Knicks team's not looking to compete this year. I just really hope they do something with their offense, because that was the biggest disappointment of all of last year. It was just watching them just ruin any offensive flow, any mojo they had.
Yeah, I wonder too. I mean, he's not that great of a passer or ball handler, but I wonder if he can take that next step as well. So maybe we don't see him driving and attacking more, but maybe he can just add something to his game this year. I don't think that's gonna happen though. I don't think that offense is gonna change. I don't think he's really gonna be fitting in that Fizdale offense. So that's why I have him low personally. But obviously, it's way too early to tell. The other guy that we were talking about is Terrence Ferguson. How do you think his game will change not having to play with Russell Westbrook and Paul George? He'll have a great point guard in CP3 around him. He'll have Danilo Gallinari, a pretty good scorer around him. He'll still have Steven Adams around him. Do you think his game's going to change at all? What are you expecting? Where can his growth really take the next step in?
I'm hoping to see him take a little bit more control with the ball. Like last year, he was really just there for his defense and three-point shooting, and he wasn't even an amazing defender. He was above average. Like, you're not going to get that Roberson level replacement value, but he was doing a decent job out there, and he hit threes at above league average rate, which is all you can ask for from a second-year player who was very raw coming out from Australia the year prior. So I think the expectations were about right this year, because they're rolling with Shea out there with him. And all of their draft picks have basically been like, let's take the most athletic, young, talented, raw prospect. Like, this team is the biggest question mark. I don't know what OKC's going to be because, like you said, they're bookended by two fantastic, above average starters in Chris Paul and Steven Adams. And everybody's like, well, is Steven Adams going to be on the trading block? If they can ever move Chris Paul, what are they going to get back for that awful contract? And I just see him being somebody who's going to settle in at that 10-point-a-game scorer level again. And that's about it, because I don't know how much they're going to do. I honestly expect them to roll with kind of a older Brooklyn Nets look, where they were just we're just going to run a super deep rotation and everybody's going to get 20, 25 minutes out here, because that's what you can do when you have that many young pieces on a team, and you need to figure out who are the guys we're sticking with? They obviously know Shai Gilgeous is the guy moving forward, but if Ferguson, Diallo, any of those kind of guys can fit that mold moving forward, awesome. This is a year where they can really explore that.
Yeah, he had a super low usage last year, and again, that was just because he was mostly used as a spot-up shooter, as a guy that was
he's like the fourth option in that offense, which is absolutely where it should have been.
Well, and I don't think that's going to change it. I think he's honestly become the fifth option on that offense now, because, I mean, Shea, CP3, Danilo, Steven Adams.
Yeah.
I mean,
you're absolutely the worst shooter out there.
I am interested to see
but he's
what
still
he
pretty
could,
good.
I'm interested to see what he could do with the ball in his hands, though, because he is so athletic, and you wonder, like, if he's able to add more meat to his bones, using that 6'7" frame, that 6'9" wingspan, can he become a guy that's a slasher as well and kind of mold this game out? But I don't think he's going to have that opportunity, at least this year yet, just because of the offense that is around him, not having the ability to control the ball. And maybe we do see him come off the bench just a little bit, just as though he can, kind of possibly run an offense in a way. Because, I mean, he is still extremely young, 21 years old. He just turned, it says 92 days here. Was May really 92 days ago?
It is. This is mid to late August.
He's a fresh 21-year-old.
Yeah.
May just seem so long ago.
Yep.
He's a fresh 21-year-old.
But no, he looked amazing at Summer League, which is the nice thing. Like, getting to see him live, like, that whole OKC team was nothing but slashing and threes. Like, that's all they could do was dunk and three, and that was fantastic. It was one of the most exciting, like, athletic teams out there. Honestly, the guy that I compare, like, him and OG Anunoby were both really hard for me to place, because I think that OG has a huge opportunity in front of him.
Yeah.
I know he was hurt at the end of last year, and it sucked for him timing-wise to miss out on that incredible run. But at the same time, when I look at OG Anunoby and, like, here's where he was in college, just an absolute stud. Heartbreak with injury, that's why he got taken later. And then, all right, what can he be? He surprised us as a above-average three-point shooter and really good defender, and it kind of fit similar mold to Ferguson. But then he dropped off from that in his second year. I wonder, I'm like, can he rise to the occasion now that, Toronto is basically up for grabs? You have Pascal Siakam, Lowry, Serge, and Gasol as, like, the four guys who look like they're going to carry this team. Can you be that next piece in there, or are you going to get replaced and they're going to decide to roll out, Fred VanVleet at the 2, move Norm Powell over to the 3, or, they've got a couple of options in that lineup. So I think his is the one that's most interesting to me as a similar comparison to Terrence Ferguson.
Yeah, and it sucks kind of for OG, because, I mean, he is going to get this opportunity, we hope. But there's going to be more pressure on him, where Ferguson can make mistakes. He can, slack off a little bit, because this team doesn't have that expectations, where OG Anunoby's stepping into the defending champs. And while they probably don't have those expectations again after losing Kawhi Leonard, you still are expected to make the playoffs, and you're still expected to at least contribute to this team. For Anunoby, what do you think his role will be for the Raptors? Because obviously Kawhi was the one last year, then Kyle Lowry.
Yeah.
Who do you think the number one scoring option is going to be? Do you think it's going to be by committee? And do you think he's going to get enough looks to kind of prove himself?
I think he's fourth or fifth option on this team, honestly, out the gates. Like, Pascal Siakam, in the games without Kawhi Leonard playing, was putting up like 21 points a night, which I think it was like 21 and 6 rebounds or 7 rebounds, something like that. It was really impressive. And I think they're going to keep leaning into that, because he just had an incredible role last year, and he's learning basketball at such a quick rate that I want the ball in his hands, because, he's not going to be Giannis out there, but when he's able to drive at people and he's able to go in transition, he is terrifying. He absolutely scares the shit out of people, because he has good handles for his size and great speed. So I think that it's all through Siakam. You still are going to roll with Lowry and Gasol, and those are basically your braces. And after that, if Serge isn't on the floor, you could definitely go to Anunoby. I don't know. Fred VanVleet, same thing. Like, he's great for that second unit, or as a, come in after a couple minutes and provide an extra scoring punch and spacing. So I think he's a fourth option, fifth option guy. I think he's very similar, but he needs to get his shot back. That's the biggest thing to me, because, like, he has a chance. He could step up and, like, look, as the year goes on, if they're not in contention, that Gasol contract, that Serge Ibaka contract could be pieces that can get moved. You say Lowry, I don't think they'll ever move that, but you go ahead and get all the hate from the Raptors fans. That's fine.
I'm fine with it. The weird thing, too, with Anunoby is, like, you bring up the shot, him losing his shot, and a big thing that he was good at in his rookie year was shooting very close to the basket, less than 10 feet. It was about 37% of his shots.
Yeah, he did backdoor cuts.
Yeah, he made up 37% of his shots. He was shooting around like 75% on those shots. So he's extremely good at that. But then, last year went down to I think like 50%. So it totally dropped off about like 50% there. And he was also extremely good in his rookie year when defenders were pretty close, tight to him. 22% of his shots came when defenders were 2 to 4 feet around him. He was shooting 72% on those shots, and that was 22% there. And then we look this year, or at least the past year, 30% of his shots came when defenders were 2 to 4 feet near him, and then that dropped all the way down to 56. So I don't know if that's a writing of the ship, because shooting 72% of your shots
unsustainable.
Is pretty impressive. It's unsustainable, but again, maybe they do try to work him back into sets that are just getting him more clean, open looks around the bucket. And he still was around the same when it came to catch and shoot threes. So I still think that outside shot can be there. I think it's just more about finding his confidence, because we saw, early 2017, 2018, when he was getting consistent minutes, he was fairly good in his role. So I think that it's not really lost for Anunoby because there wasn't an injury. Right. I think you have to look at the one piece that came in. It was Kawhi Leonard, and that's going to take away minutes from him. It's going to take away at least consistent minutes from him, because if Kawhi's sitting, Anunoby's going to get a bump up in minutes. But if Kawhi's out there, it's going to take away time from him, and then they're going to try to at least keep the offense somewhat similar to make sure that Kawhi, it doesn't change too much when Kawhi's out there. Now not having that Kawhi force out there, I think that Anunoby might be able to right the ship.
Opens up a lot of opportunities for him. I remember coming out of college, it was him and Karis LeVert. We were both like, these kids, they got something special. Give them another chance. Let them come back and earn it.
Maybe that's why Ricky has OG Anunoby at 16. It's high compared to us. Well, that's one thing that when we were going through it. I had him at 24. You had him at 25. Ricky has him at 16. I don't think it's absolutely crazy, just because he is going to see more shots.
Oh, he's got a hell of an opportunity in front of him.
And we were absolutely in love with him.
He 2 years ago, it was prospects on the Raptors. It was OG Anunoby here, Pascal Siakam's mystery name down here, and then it's completely flipped. And the question is OG hasn't gotten any worse. It's just Pascal Siakam had an amazing year, and he had a great fit next to Kawhi Leonard, and was able to take over when Kawhi wasn't there. Yeah. So I think OG now needs to take his opportunity and see if he can be, that second piece to Pascal Siakam for the future of the Raptors.
There's two other young guys on this list: Bruce Brown and Troy Brown. Bruce Brown of the Detroit Pistons, Troy Brown of the Washington Wizards. Let's at least talk about Bruce Brown first. He's more of a 2-guard or a 1-guard. He was starting at times for them. Yeah. At point guard when Reggie Jackson wasn't playing, or just when Reggie Jackson was horrible. What's the expectations for Bruce Brown? Because he did do fairly well in that starting role, and that's why we're putting him in. We pretty much have 3 wings out there for this Detroit Pistons starting lineup. We have Reggie Jackson, we have Luke Kennard, and then we have Bruce Brown. Yep. What's the expectation with those 3 next to Blake Griffin and Andre Drummond in your mind?
I think the expectation is to continue being a facilitator out there from the wing. That's the hope, is that you got a good look at it and a really fair share of minutes and opportunities last year, and he held his own. We didn't expect the world out of him. He wasn't a top draft pick, but he was a smart player. He knew what he was capable of doing, and he didn't make those horrible crushing mistakes out there that just make the entire team demotivated. So I think that what he can do is just be a solid piece, move the ball around. The expectation is this team is going to get carried by Blake Griffin. It's the Blake Griffin, Reggie, and then Derrick Rose show. He is definitely an afterthought, but if he can knock down open looks from 3, if he can make smart passes into the post to Blake and Andre Drummond, that's a huge win for this team, because their only other option, we were joking around about this before, is Tony Snell, who, granted, Tony Snell was an okay defender and a decent 3-point shooter, but he doesn't have that ability to facilitate. And I think that's what they want out of Bruce Brown with that first unit, is having somebody else who can continue to move the ball, because Reggie isn't exactly known for his passing ability.
Yeah, no, Reggie Jackson is a black hole of offense. If we're talking about what's-his-face, our guy Terrence Ross being the supernova
of offense,
Reggie Jackson is the black hole of offense. If you're new here, I absolutely dislike Reggie Jackson. He's like the worst basketball. Well, that's why I said if you're new here.
Yeah.
He's like the worst basketball player to watch. The biggest thing, at least for
he should be in the big three.
Bruce Brown though is just being a better catch and shoot player. He shot 27% last year on catch and shoots. And with Blake Griffin taking more of a role as a facilitator, I do want him to at least see a step up in that. Because outside of that, he was a plus for them. When he was out on the floor, it was a +3 per 100 possessions, and I think when he was, it was the on-off splits was like +1. So I mean, he was a positive out there for that team. Like you said, a very good defender and a pretty hard-nosed player. Let's jump out at Troy Brown. Give us your expectations for him, because we were even debating like, do we put Rui here? Because I mean, Rui probably has more potential for Troy Brown, but you are the Troy Brown lover here, as you're the only person that did not put him at 30. You put him at 29.
Yeah, it's a big step for me to not put him at 30. I'm sorry, guys. This is the guy who had to fight to get his own minutes on a team after being a pick 15 last year.
Yeah, 15.
Just incredibly insulting. One of the worst coaches in the NBA over there. I know it's Sean's boy. Sean, you want to give
Scott Brooks. I can't wait for the coaching rankings and put his ass at 31. Hate that bum.
Yeah, so there were a lot of questionable decisions on a team last year for the Wizards who, lost John Wall and were led by Bradley Beal with basically no expectations. The fact that Troy Brown wasn't getting a ton of minutes and opportunities was just perplexing the vast majority of the nation. And when he did get a chance towards the very end of the season, he only did start 10 games. He didn't look awful. He definitely looked like a rookie. He was raw. He needs a lot of time and a lot of minutes. And hopefully he'll get it this year, because this is a guy who, came out of Oregon with a ton of potential, basically being the guy who could ball handle, but he was also 6'7". It's always that perk of, look, you're an oversized guard basically out there. His outside shooting was definitely not a problem, because he wasn't even trying to shoot threes for the most part in college. Mm-hmm. He was just all about getting into the lane, creating havoc. He could dish out, or he would go in for like layup or slam. Like, that was his game. He's just a great slashing wing who has good ball handling skills. And with this team now, I don't know what that's going to turn into, because, like I said, you're stuck with Ish Smith, Bradley Beal, Troy Brown, and Bertrands. Mm-hmm. That's If he's not getting 28 minutes a game, 30 minutes a game, Scott Brooks, your job's gone. Same with Rui. Rui, you mentioned we could have thrown it out there, but I'm like, Rui's more of a 4. I know Ricky tells the story. He should be a 3 every single time we bring him up.
Yeah, so he could be Giannis.
But, Giannis played the 4 half the time anyway.
No, I mean, he has to be Giannis. That's the only
He's
player.
The Japanese Giannis?
Only player that Rui Hachimura could be is Giannis Antetokounmpo. He's either Giannis or he's a bust.
Yep. So we'll see. But my point being, Troy Brown should have about 25 to 30 minutes a game worth of minutes. Hopefully he gets a ton of opportunities to ball handle, because Ish is a backup point guard, in all honesty, as much as I love the guy. But he's got to work on his shot. He absolutely has to work on his shot. If you can't space the floor, you're going to get run off the floor.
And here's the thing is, the guys we haven't talked about, Alfonso McKinney, Kent Bazemore, Tim Hardaway Jr., Kyle Anderson, there's not much to say about him, because Alfonso McKinney, as long as he can just stand outside and shoot threes and play defense,
healthy,
he'll be fine. Exactly.
Be healthy. That's your number one thing.
Be healthy for this Warrior team that just needs bodies at this point. You look at Tim Hardaway Jr., as long as he can just, as long as he can be efficient, he will be a very good starter for them. That's all they need him to be, is be efficient. He doesn't really need to be putting up, 20 points a game or 15 points a game. As long as he's efficient and working off of Kristaps and Luka, it's going to be a win. Kyle Anderson is going to be Kyle Anderson.
He's like an unsung hero. He's a do-it-all player who plays great defense. He doesn't shoot threes, but
good facilitator.
Yeah.
He's
good defender.
He's just a Swiss knife.
Only knock on him is he doesn't have J's in his name. Playing on Memphis, you instant downgrade.
Giles Janderson?
It doesn't have the same ring as Jandon Jark.
Other than that, I think the other guy is Kent Bazemore, and that's a team that desperately needs a 3. Let's end on this question.
Yep.
Kent Bazemore or Carmelo Anthony.
Who? Carmelo Anthony last year. 4, Carmelo last year was ranked at was that 16? 18? No, 17. 18. Yeah. 18 last year was Carmelo Anthony.
So I mean,
he was ranked higher than the games played.
He was ranked higher than Taurean Prince and Justice Winslow.
Yikes.
But no, I mean, Melo more of a 4 now. But
yeah.
I mean, do you think that he is a possibility
of playing in the NBA this year?
For Portland, yeah. Do you think Carmelo could play in the NBA this year?
I mean, Boogie went down, and it just screams LA to me. It
to
just
play the
screams,
5. Melo at the 5.
AD moves over. Like AD constantly whining about not being a 5 is just like breathing air, man. Like it just happens, and we don't care. Like you don't think about it. He's just gonna have to do it.
Yeah.
So I think that's just Melo's gonna be. If we were in gold and purple, it's gonna happen.
Yeah. Is there a better option though for Portland? You think in your mind,
Kent
Bazemore, or is it
honestly,
just
I'm happy they moved on from
Evan Turner?
Evan Turner. Like he had an amazing playoff performance, and that will basically be his last standing note on that team. Yeah. But he just was not a good all-around basketball player.
I think Rodney Hood might take the job at the end of by the end of the year.
He got a chance.
He was fantastic in the playoffs for them, and I think that they might want to look to him as a guy off the bench, but I'd be intrigued with Rodney Hood. Guy was much better as a Portland Trailblazer than he was a Cleveland Cavalier.
Yeah.
Anyways, let us know your thoughts on 21 through 30. We'd love to hear them.